Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today to do Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic, chapters 225 and 226 review. So, we're doing two chapters in one video, and we'll see how this rolls. If I take my time, and if it's like 20 plus minutes, that's just the way it is. We'll see. I just do things, and whatever occurs, occurs. So that being said, when it comes to these chapters, they can kind of be summarized in a few points. The first point is going to be this species conflict. The species that were freed by Solomon and by the revolutionaries, they are now free, but even though they're free, they're still fighting amongst themselves. That's number one. Number two is Solomon becoming king, but at first, chapter 225 doesn't want to become king. However, they meaning the magicians and Arbor and others make a very valid point where he has to be king in order to maintain stability among those who are freed from the control towers and the Orthodox Church. Number three is Sheba. She is now pregnant, and she has slowed down the growth of her child in her stomach so she can still fight alongside Solomon and Solomon's, their friends pretty much, right? Their mates. Number four is the Rukh, which I need to talk about because that's crazy. So let me go back to point number one. Number one, this species conflict. Now, we have at some point Solomon and Ugo, they're trying to discuss as to why these species, even though they're free, continue to fight one another as if they were still under the control of these control towers. And one thing that they came up with was that there is no real trust between these species. And this is kind of displayed in chapter 226, where in this chapter, you have these winged species that can fly. And they're like flapping around. They're like, yeah, so we can fly. We're master of the skies. We rule the clouds. And Elah is the rule of the heavens. Therefore, we should be Elah's disciples. So based on their ability to fly, they choose, or they make the claim that since they are closer to Elah, they should be Elah's disciples. And yet at the same time, we have these Cyclops-ish humanoid dudes who make the claim that, well, since we have a more humanoid form, or our form is closer to the magician's form, and they were, well, I should say the human's form, who were chosen by Elah and given the power of magic control, hence magicians, we should be their disciples, and hence the disciples of Elah. So you have one saying, okay, we have wings, we can fly, we should be the disciples of God, and the others are saying, no, we have this particular shape, therefore we should be God's disciples. The thing here is this, and they're fighting based on that. So obviously, when it comes to the species, there's not a lot of trust between these species. Another example would be in chapter 224. In 224, you have what? The berserkers and the centaurs. Oh, the centaurs are so smart. Oh, the berserkers are so powerful. We gotta kill them. Keep in mind here that this is a real world concept where you have people in the real world fighting because of these differences, where in the grand scheme of the universe are so fucking meaningless, but they fight regardless, whether it be race, whether it be gender, whether it be belief or preferences. Oh, we're gonna fight because you don't think along the same line I do, or you believe in this guy and you believe in this guy, but these guys, God, Allah, Yahweh, oh, they're like the same fucker. But no. Differences because this and the Kershi and the Arshi and no, but heaven and the gates and it's like, what? When you sit back and when you look at the grand scheme of the universe, this fighting that occurs in the real world in real time is so fucking stupid over the smallest things. In the grand scheme of things, if I were to take myself, a dude down the street, a dude in France, a dude in China, the similarities between us from a genetic standpoint are astronomical compared to the differences, where the differences are nigh meaningless, but yet we fight and we destroy lives, and instead of building, we ostracize one another based on these small little things. Like, what the fuck? Like, I forgot who said the quote, but it was beautiful, where if another alien species were to come down to planet Earth, and they were to see, and they were to compare humans all over the globe, they would see so many similarities, where the differences would be meaningless, completely, utterly meaningless. And yet here we are, spears, guns, and so on and so forth. It's sad. It really is sad. But hey, that's just the way it is. Can we change it in my lifetime? Probably not. But hey, at least there should be some genuine effort to realize that us as a species, when we work together as a collective whole, we can do anything. But when we fight against each other, we stunt ourselves and we prevent ourselves from moving further beyond into what is the universe. Fucking shit. Alright, moving on. So we have this pretty much. We have these species that are fighting, and this brings up point number 2. The magicians, a lot of them realize that, listen, we have magicians who are, some of them, they are the instigators of these conflicts. And the species themselves, they don't really trust one another. The only species that are exceptions to this are the mother dragons, only one more left, and the fucking red lions, which of course we can assume are the finalies. So the finalies have never needed the help of magicians. They never needed it. They were just that damn good. Like, yo, we are the red lions, fucking round. And then everyone walks away like, whoa, red lions. The will is too strong. Their hockey is too great. But we have these conflicts nonetheless among these other species. So we need someone to take control of the situation. All of these conflicts, all these issues, they're like a bull. And someone has to grab the fucking reins. And that guy has to be Solomon. Because Solomon is revered as a god. He can control and manipulate the ley lines. Or in this case, they mentioned later on, the vectors, whatever. And he can control these things. And he can literally manipulate the physics of their world. So Solomon is disgustingly hacked. However, Solomon is afraid. He is honestly, earnestly afraid that he will wind up like his father, Elder David, where he will be revered as his God, and he may do something similar in the future, like the Control Towers. He fears that. And because he's trying so hard not to be like his father, he's not realizing that the bigger picture is not what he prefers, is not what he wants, but what is necessary for maintaining peace and order within this newly forged system. So the magicians can't be equal, because if they are equal, some magicians, like we're seeing, are going to go around controlling other species to do what they want them to do. But if you have a magician above magician who regulates, who can pass judgment and maintain order among these species and the magicians themselves, all of a sudden, you can attain this Almatoran. So that's what they need. So, in the latest chapter, when you have Arba and the others come to Solomon and say, you know what, Solomon? We understand how you feel. We're your best friend. We're your mates. But you have to do this. If you want to attain Almatoran, the equality has to be among the magicians and the species themselves. But you must stand on this pinnacle. You must stand and look down from above to maintain this unity, this order. He has to do it. Very similar to an actual God. Yeah, think about it. God maintains, if God is out there, which, you know, God maintains order, and order, well, the order of the universe, but no. I'm gonna say no, because once I start going down that path, I'm gonna go on this whole religious rant, and I don't want to do that. So no. The thing here is that what Solomon is right now is it's king-esque, but at the same time it's very goddess. It's more so goddess, to be quite honest. And, like, for example, in the Elder David side story, Elder David mentioned how no one else is like him, how he's able to see the paths of destiny. He's alone by himself in this room. No one's around him. He's alone. He's at the top of the pinnacle. He's at the top of the mountain. But what you realize, and this is very well depicted in the latest chapter of Magi. We see Solomon at the top of this plateau, this mountain. And he's all by himself, and it's dark and it's lonely. You can reach the pinnacle. You can reach the top. But once you do, you'll find yourself alone, by yourself. Now, in Solomon's case, lucky he has Sheba. Sheba, who is going to bear his child, which they reference the name, and I think it was chapter 220, 225. It was like there's the name, or like, I think it was Seta, asked her the name. So what's the name of the child? And then she's like, I'm not going to tell you just yet. And there was a small text that says the name is obviously, as if like to say it's Aladdin, but I'm starting to think, I don't know, man. So let me backpedal. So once again, Solomon has to overcome this wall to become king. And when he does announce to the people, to the magicians, yeah, I become king, his eyes kind of seemed sad. He seemed like, fuck, I don't want to do this. This is the last thing I wanted. But I have to do this because I need to maintain peace. I've worked hard to free the species. The last thing I want them to do is to kill each other. So in order to prevent these species from killing each other, I must maintain and create order. That's the way it is. So, and you can't do that if every other magician is quote-unquote equal to you. It's not possible. So, in this case, a democracy ain't working. It just ain't. Because the differences are apparently too great. Even though, when you break people down fundamentally, when you take a look at their Rukh, the Rukh is what? All equal. Shit. Alright. Moving on. So, when we come to Sheba, number 3, her being pregnant, and how it's strongly hinted within the context of the chapter that it's Aladdin that she's giving birth to. I'm really starting to doubt if Sheba is Ren Gyokuin. I really am. Now, the only reason why I'm basing that, or the only reason why I'm getting this notion, is because the Magi, and when is this whole concept of, you know what, fuck it, let me just say, because honestly, we'll get to at some point, and it does involve the Rukh. That's very obvious. But at some point, this whole concept of Magi has to start being introduced, and when that is, probably after Elder David's fight. So the thing here is this, though: we see the Magi, and the Magi that portrays Lord Solomon winds up being the Magi with the same staff as Sheba. So there's no evidence of these staffs interchanging with people and that kind of stuff. I just find it kind of odd. So that means that Ren Gyokuen is the mother of Aladdin. If that's the case, then how come Ren Gyokuen has never mentioned or said anything along those lines? Because she did reference Aladdin a few times, and she's never made any hints that Aladdin is her son. She actually referenced him as being a Magi of Al-Matoran. So that's throwing me off a little bit. So, because the way Ren Gyokuen speaks about Aladdin, it's not motherly. It's not even close. Well, then again, oh no. Even though I'm pretty sure that you're gonna say Hakuryu, she does treat Hakuryu from a motherly standpoint, but it's twisted and it's massively fucked up. But still a motherly standpoint. Aladdin, not even close. So now I'm starting to really question things. Is Sheba Ren Gyokuen? I want to say yeah, but I'm gonna still say yeah, but we'll see. Because now I'm starting to take a step back and look at the whole situation. There are some things that are off, and I think these things will start to piece together once we have the fight against Elder David. Now, the last thing, Rukh. The fact that the first Rukh was black, I was like, whoa, wait a second, hold on, pause. I had to take a look at what the black Rukh was. I had to refresh my mind. The black Rukh being the Rukh of regression. The black Rukh being Rukh that goes against progression. Rukh that normally is attained through despair, through anguish, through sadness and sorrow. And that's the original soul? What? Oh, it's kind of weird, man. See, that's kind of weird. I mean, I understand that their world of Al-Matoran hasn't been, fluffy and Teletubbies and peaches and cream. I understand that. Yeah, I fully do. But for the original soul to be black, the first one Ugo finds to be the Rukh of regression? I don't know, man. Shit. Unless the Rukh of regression is only a concept for the current world. Just because it's black, maybe that doesn't mean that it's regression per se. Because I thought about it, I'm like, so maybe this whole... Because my assumption is that since White Rukh belongs to the Great White Flow, which I believe is another variant of Il-Elah's power, when he was radiant and shining with all this power, maybe the Great White Flow is another variant of that power. Because again, Il-Elah's power is being drained somewhere. So my assumption here, my theory is that Il-Elah's power is being converted into the Great White Flow for some odd reason. I don't know why. Elder David, he knows, but again, we'll see. So the end result here would be Black Rukh being tied to Il-Elah itself, which is why the medium that was created was able to actually make contact and call forth Il-Elah in the first place. But that's mainly because of the fact that what? Il-Elah is a being from another dimension. We are in this current dimension that Il-Elah stems from to begin with. And the Black Rukh being the first Rukh, the original Rukh, this whole notion of regression, Because now we have Solomon and Ugo trying to figure out this whole fate thing. And this whole fate thing, which Elder David already has to like a T, pretty much. They're starting to learn themselves, Ugo and Solomon. And how if they can control these paths of fate, they can control the outcome of the lives of others. You know, that sounds kind of messed up, but in order to maintain peace, that's what you kind of have to do. And you can control outcomes that previously were uncontrollable. Just how someone can see the line vectors of the planet and manipulate the laws of physics, he at some point may be able to control the lines of destiny via the Rukh. But because it's black, doesn't really mean that it's regression in the sense of this current world. So where that fits exactly, I'm not too sure. But let's just assume for now that it's black, and it is black, but let's assume that it's not regression. Let's assume that it's just the soul. It's not progression, it's not regression, because that concept may have been introduced by Solomon in this current world, because the Black Rukh have a tie to Elah, who is going to come to their world and absorb all the Magi. But let's just say that the original Rukh is just the soul, and that's it. Let's assume that. That's my assumption. Whatever you think, then go for it. And when it comes to later on, where he explains like these layers and how Rukh is all equal, you see Solomon. He sees this image of it looked pretty damn badass. It looked like holy, like whoa, like it was just brilliant, blazing, beautiful. And Solomon, I think, has an idea now. He has an idea. Because I'm starting to think that now that he understands this whole concept of Rukh, or now that he's starting to learn it, now when we saw that image, now I'm starting to think, okay, Solomon just had a thought that will be a catalyst, that will create the current world, the world that Aladdin, Alibaba, and Sinbad live in. That's what I'm thinking. Because according to what was just stated in this chapter, in order for people to actually interact with this third dimension, with this other layer, this Rukh layer that resides on their planet, you need a vast amount of Magi, equal to that of Elah itself. That's a lot of Rukh. That's a lot of power. And right now, it's impossible for Solomon or his father, Elder David, to achieve that level of power. So now Solomon's thinking, hold on. But if Rukh is all equal, if we can manipulate this equality of the Rukh, we can achieve a true Torah. But it also may be in the case of creating this other world that the main characters reside in. Whew! And that's it. Well, we are over the 20-minute mark, and that, hey man, you know what? That's the way it is, man. That's just the way it is. Fuck it. But I'm done. So overall, these chapters, very informative, very important, and overall, ratings of good and good plus, and I will see you guys later. Peace. Have a nice day.